All right, here in our hood we have set up what we're going to need for the production of acetanilide. Kind of like the cooking shows, I've already pre-measured the aniline and the acetic anhydride and the water that we're going to need. As I said earlier, I'm going to do two parallel reactions. One I'm going to add the charcoal to, the other one I'm not. And we're going to compare not only what they look like as a measure of how pure they are, but also then the percent yields that we get back. So we can really compare how those purification steps affect both those things. All right, so the graduated cylinder on the far left has aniline in it. You can see the nice dark brown color it's got. As aniline ages, a small amount of it will decompose, giving it that dark brown color. So that actually indicates that there's some impurity, some stuff that we don't want in our aniline, but it's really not all that much compared to the amount of aniline that's still around. So I measured out actually 2 volumes worth. I have, as it turns out, went a little over. I have it looks like 4.3 mLs. So I'm going to try and add half of that to one flask. And this is where my pipette comes in. If I decide to use it, I actually have right at 2 for the other flask. So we need to make a note for 2.3 and 2 mLs for the respective flasks. All right. So went right away, grabbed my notebook, wrote down how much I had. Now this is 25 ml graduated, but I put about 5 more mils in it. Here again, the water is just acting as a solvent. So if it's not exactly 15 mLs, that'll be all right. 15 in there, 15 in there. Swirl them around. Now realize that aniline, as an aromatic, is not particularly soluble in water, so it's wanting to try to separate. So as I perform this reaction, I'm going to need to swirl it very well. Here again, 2.5 mils. Actually, I have 5.2 mLs, so I'm going to get 2.6 mLs of acetic acid into each flask. Since I didn't use this one before. Swirl. And you can see that aniline, okay, well, not soluble in water, will at least suspend, okay, as a liquid. The acetanilide, the product, is not particularly soluble in water. Okay, and it doesn't even suspend, it precipitates out. This is all well and good, except now there's probably lots of unreacted aniline down in there, because that reaction happens fairly quickly. So then the procedure tells us to add another 50 mils of water to each and then heat it. This is in fact sort of a recrystallization. Here again, I had 100 milliliters of distilled water already ready to go. I'm going to add half of that to one flask, half to the other, and then move them to my hot plate. hot plate's already on and fairly hot. As I'm trying to preheat those beakers and the funnel behind them. Here again, acetanilide is not soluble in water unless the water is close to boiling. So in order to filter it later, I've got to get that funnel very hot, or the acetanilide product is going to crystallize out as I'm trying to separate it from the charcoal. Okay, we're back and our flasks are at rolling boils. You can see that all the solid is gone. Okay, and so now what I want to do is add some charcoal to the plus flask. Oh, that's it. Now I don't want to do this directly over the hot plate. Okay, as if any that fell on the hot plate might flash. Okay. And the addition of the charcoal, notice, makes it much more bubbly, kind of effervescent. Okay. And since what we've got in there is a nice dark black, that's plenty of charcoal. Adding more just means it's harder to filter. Alright, Alright, now that my reaction is done and my solids are done, I'm going to take this out very briefly. Take the water that is in this one, heating it. Pour it in the other beaker. I need that beaker empty so that I can start transferring my reaction. I have to hold it for any length of time. While I'm waiting for that gravity funnel to allow the filtrate through, I'm keeping it on the heat as well as the Erlenmeyer with the non-filtered reaction. Okay, that'll keep it hot and less is likely to precipitate in my funnel as I'm filtering. Little enough left in the Erlenmeyer, but I'm not going to wait all that long for it to go through. And then pour that over. Now the reason I wanted the other hot water is I'm going to use just a little bit to rinse that reaction flask. Here again, it got really bubbly when we added the charcoal. So some of our product went up the sides, and I want to try to minimize that. All right, it's poured in. Meanwhile, I'm going to go ahead and dump the rest of this water. And I'm going to pour my minus reaction right in there. It wouldn't have to, except it's easier to get solid products out of beakers than it is out of Erlenmeyers. So that's my plus, minus, and then this is my minus. I'm going to take it off. The hot plate can go off now. I'm going to let that finish filtering. And once that's done, I'll give you a shot of it so you can see how it doesn't look just flat black anymore. There's a little shine to it, which means our solids were starting to crystallize out. All right, I've moved the beakers to the regular bench as they start to cool down. In addition, here again, here's the funnel with the charcoal. And it's gone from nice matte black to that kind of shiny color because the acetanilide crystals are quite shiny. So now I'm going to move them once they're cool enough to the ice, and then we'll take them out and look at them again. Okay, it's been 15-20 minutes. I haven't really been keeping track, but here's our first beaker, and hopefully you can see how nice and shiny the crystals are. Earlier I cut and measured the filter paper, put it in there, making sure I get a little bit of water. Here again, always shake. I'm going to pre-moisten the filter paper so that it doesn't move anywhere as I start to apply the fast vacuum. Kind of swirl, break up all the crystals, move them over. Little squirt, try to spin what I can. By taking the vacuum off the crystals while I bring the last of it over, I'm actually allowing the water to sort of suspend in there and giving it one last sort of final rinse. Sorry about that. Had to step away to get some washcloth. It's not considering ahead. Take the vacuum off. Take my spatula. Raise the filter paper and slide it right on out. Grab the ones from around the edge. And that's what I've got for a product. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the product where we did not add the charcoal. Notice that for the filter papers I marked which was which in pencil so I wouldn't end up with blue product. And a couple little squirts here. Treating it the same way as I treated the other one. And here again, I'm going to lift the filter paper up, slide it right off. And now with and without the charcoal. Here again, I'll let it dry. I'll let you know what the mass is for each, and you can do your comparison.